Oh, hi guys, welcome back to Paint with Josh. Today we did an 18 by 24 inch canvas. Beautiful double mountain range, almost a double meadow, this beautiful fence, pathway, gorgeous red and yellow flowers, giant bare tree. Not a bear tree, but a bear tree. So you're obviously excited about painting this one. That's why you clicked on the link. Check the description down below. Find all the colors you need. Make sure you get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on it. We're gonna do it just like this. Holy, what happened to the painting? Where did it go? What are we gonna do? We're gonna have to repaint the sucker again. All right, let's show you. We have dark sienna, sap green, phthalo green, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black, titanium white, cad yellow, and bright red. As always, it runs down my palette. Now, you guys have already seen the scene that we're about to paint. I'm literally about to make it up right here. I have something in mind, a little bit of a reference in mind, and we're going to try to create that out of memory. So let's do a blue sky. We haven't done a blue sky in a long time. So we're going to come right in here into our phthalo blue, start up in the top corners, and just bring it down. Right? Ooh, look at this. That is a sky and a half. Look at that. Let's leave a big area for our big white puffy clouds. I always say, if you want white puffy clouds, you gotta leave a white puffy area. And that is 100% the truth. If you cover it with all that big, thick blue paint, you're gonna have trouble. You're gonna have all those little, all the white is gonna wanna mix with all the blue that's underneath, right? We don't want that to happen. So we're not gonna allow a whole lot of blue color. And look at that, as it goes from dark to light, it's because we put that Bob Ross liquid white on there. With the liquid white, it allows it to blend down and blend together, and with the white kind of get lighter in hue and make all these beautiful colors that we couldn't even really do if we tried, right? We couldn't even plan that if we had tried. So very lightly go over those white areas just so they take a little bit of color, but they mainly stay white. And we'll just fill in this spot over here. And all of a sudden we have this beautiful blue sky with a nice soft white area for our puffy clouds, right? Take and really blend this guy in. The more crisscrosses you make, the more your little swipes will go away, and it will become this really soft, very faint, light blue summer sky. Look at that. Fantastic. Get that hair out of there. And that looks nice right there. Okay, now we're going to come in. We're going to scrape up a little bit of our white. But we don't want to just use pure white, right? So let's use a little bit of the blue. We'll mix it in with that white. It's still going to be a very light color, but it won't be pure white, right? That's the key, not being pure white. So let's come up here and we'll just start to make this giant bit of kind of cloud color right into that white though. We want it to blend together, right? We want it to blend. Maybe we'll throw a little bit of dark in there. Give it a little bit of shadow, some of that dark, some of that blue. That's too much. There we go. Just a little bit of something. Maybe it goes out there. It does whatever it wants to do. We'll just let it live out there. Take that same old nasty brush. Make our big old circles. And all of a sudden we have this soft, kind of far away gray bit of cloud that we can work with. You can pull it at the bottom, make it nice and flat and far away. And then we'll go back in, grab up some more of that, make some more of that very light blue color. And then we'll come up here and just kind of, in areas where you want it to be light, you add your light. Over the top of our shadows, of course. Gotta have some over there. Maybe some up here, maybe some comes out there and just hangs out. Gonna go back in, take our 2-inch brush or 1-inch brush, whatever's more comfortable for you, and just start making our little cloud circles. Look at that, it is so fantastic. My goodness. What other tutorialist keeps you so entertained as old Paint with Josh, right? Everyone else talks like this, and it's very slow. And the few videos that Josh has seen, it's not very fun to watch, which is why I think you guys like my channel. So thank you for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do to kind of help me reach more people, right? Look at this gorgeous thing. Just barely hanging on to the brush too. So light. I could almost drop it. Don't drop it though. Don't drop it. All right, let's come in here. We're going to take up a little bit of our darks kind of mixture, our blue, crimson, and black. Going to make that up because we're going to make a couple mountains. Now, I want to make one mountain look further away. So we're going to take the white. We're going to mix it in with that black and have it go this gray color. Don't want to have it too light though, because we don't want it to mix in too much with the color that we're already using up here. And let's say we have this giant mountain that just lives out here, just looking over everything, making sure we're all good, hanging out. Look at this sucker just grow. Kind of dump in these colors around the edge, right? The reason we do this is because it will deposit paint in a cool way. Let's see if we can't continue to use the 2-inch brush. Right? Pull it down, pull it over here. Let it go off like that, nice and soft. The more it starts to go this way, the more it's going to blend into that very light blue color over here, which is going to start to change. It wants to become lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So there we go. Look at that. You don't need a 1-inch brush. You don't need a fan brush. You don't need any brush. You can use any brush, right? Don't need anything specific because we can use anything to make any look however we want it to look. And that's nice. Almost connect those guys up. Just like that. We got this cool slope. Look, you can see it coming down this way, right? Then you can take this and blend it over to the side and just mess around. Do whatever you want to do. But the way that you pull your brush is how it's going to react. So angles are most important. Look at that. Just back and forth. Back and forth, crisscross, crisscross, making it nice and soft. You can even do our little circles like this. Get this cool little bit of faraway mountain back there. Very neat looking. Okay, now I want to get a little bit of our light color, but it can't be too bright. It's got to be off-white, right? Even this light blue is going to work. We're going to take some of that and mix it in with our dark. That's going to be our shadows for our snow. And maybe up here, look at, see, just barely, you can just barely see it, which is really going to allow that white color to stand out. And you see how we pull down and it starts to break off of the knife like that? We're scooping up a roll and we're pulling out, and when we can start to hear that noise, we know that we don't have enough left on the knife. So it depends on what you want yours to look like, how thick you want it, where you want stuff to be, and that, determines how much you drop your knife. Bam, just like that. Get a little bit of dark too, because we gotta throw some of those deep dark areas in there. Gives it a little bit of shadowing back there. Starts to blend in, mix in. It'll turn into this very kind of off-whitish gray color shadow for our snow. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Okay, you don't even need to go all the way down to the end. You really don't. Now we're going to come back, grab up a little bit of white, scoop up the rest of the blue that we have, and mix that together. Now it's going to be a much lighter color, almost white, right? But we want to save our white for the other mountain that's going to be a little bit closer. So we can't have it go too light on us. But being this light blue, it should stand out as white up here, or at least sort of grayish. There we go. Look at that. And you just pull it down, right? Very lightly. My knife is just grazing the canvas, just almost touching it down here, right? And we're just pulling it down very softly. Whatever the canvas wants to take, it's going to take, and then you move on to a new area, right? And come over here, maybe we can pretend there's this little bit of slope that starts to feed its way down. And they don't all even have to connect. All these dark areas are bits where the snow just isn't thick enough to connect. And just the higher you go up the mountain, some of the times the steeper it is, the more rocky it is, and you just can't cover everything in snow. So in order to be realistic, we like to leave a little bit of area where it doesn't look so snowy, right? You gotta have a couple open spots. Ooh, that's a lot of white. Yeah, that's a lot of white. Let me take some of this white, pull it off our edges over here, right? Just very quickly. Dump it on, drag down just a little bit, because you don't want to see the whole bit. You're never going to see all of the bits of snow that have drug over to our shadowy side, right? Never going to see it all. Might even use a little bit more of our bit of dark just to kind of highlight the differences in our ridge. It's not just one straight line of a ridge, right? You got this jagged line where our shadow is kind of casting itself over, becoming darker. Maybe up at the top we really can't see a whole lot. It becomes very dark up there. See what I mean? All changes, all based on how you like to do it. How yours is turning out, right? Now we're going to swipe up in the direction, the opposite direction of how we went down. So if we came down with the knife, we're going to swipe up with the brush. Just very lightly. All it really does is just turn it a little bit blurry. That's all we're really doing, taking it like it's out of focus on the camera. It's just a little bit blurry. You can still see a little thing here and there and here, but overall, it's just sort of blurry back there. You can tell there's all sorts of details that are just hidden by a little bit of soft mist. And that is looking fantastic right there. Okay, now let's go back. We're gonna make up more of that color. Blue, black, and crimson. And this time we're not gonna use the white to lighten it up. We're gonna keep it nice and dark. Right, and the darker it is, the more it's gonna stand out against this one as being much, much closer. So we need to come in here, just like that. You gotta be higher than your mountain back there. All right, then we're gonna come in and cut out a lot of this stuff. Just push it right in front, just like that. Then we come down, get this whole little ridge, starts to grow, things start to change, it goes off to the side, and we just kind of lose it, right? Now you can already tell just how dark this paint is versus the paint that was up back here, right? Super dark in comparison, and that's gonna make it stand out as in the front. Now we don't wanna have too much, but you do wanna have it in specific areas, okay? There we go. I'm gonna use the same 2-inch brush, still haven't washed it. Josh is a lazy old painter who doesn't like to wash brushes, obviously. Right? Like the more we pull down and the more we start to get those guys together, we start noticing light areas and dark areas and shadows and highlights. And as long as we, or you and I, can follow them, it should turn into a cool little looking mountain because it's already guiding us. It's telling us what to do already. Like, what are we supposed to do here? Oh, well, looks like a little bit of shadow up there, a little bit of light, maybe a ridge over here, maybe it comes down, maybe we have something taller or some taller trees or some sort of something that's, you know, gonna show itself. So we don't wanna allow it to grow too far down. You never wanna allow anything to grow too far down, that's for sure. Right? And a lot of times you're gonna get to the point where you just have too much paint on your brush and you gotta wash that sucker. Gotta wash that sucker off. Now we're gonna switch to a clean brush. Clean, dry brush we haven't even used. Just because I don't want this guy to grow anymore. That is fantastic. Look at this crisscross of a mountain over here. Really fabulous. All right, now let's really shade this guy in and highlight him. And then we'll move on. All right, we'll come over here, grab up a little bit of white again, a little bit of blue, a little bit of dark. Might as well mix them all together right at the same point, right? A little bit more blue though for this guy. Want a little bit deeper, darker bits of blue, right? And then maybe over here, we're just really gonna pull down, keep it nice and dark. See how it's already almost very close to what the, look what happens when you don't mix it in all the way, Josh. Can't leave it marbled here, right? Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Now, we don't want to come down too far with all this stuff. We can turn all that into fog and then put a bunch of trees out here, right? So use that somewhere else. Where else could we put it? And the cool thing about doing the shadows first is you can always go back over and maybe just the smallest little bit of your shadow doesn't get covered, and that makes it look so cool. And if you don't like a certain shadow in a certain place, then with your highlights, you just straight over the top of it, and it's all good to go. Make it literally disappear. All right, a little bit more of our dark back in here in our little ridge that I can see in my mind. You don't want to have a whole lot of paint. Remember, down here, keep telling myself, don't need a whole lot of paint down there, Josh, because we can just literally turn it all into fog. Now we'll come in here, again, mix up a little bit of that blue into our white, just so we have a difference in color. It's not the same, very bright. And then we'll come down, cover over some of those pieces. Like how we just pull on it and it just sort of falls and breaks into all these little bits as you pull it down. And you can tell I'm not doing it slow. I'm not going slow, and I'm not going fast for any reason either, except for that it works. It works better for me anyway when I go faster. So you have to dump it in there and then pull it, and whatever comes off is going to come off. Wipe it off, freshen up, come back in, maybe turn your knife every which way, going down as we go, right? Over here, over there. Pulling it until we don't have any paint left on the knife. And we'll go over this way. Just a little bit though. All right, maybe up here, get this little piece that wanted to slide down just because. Throw a little bit on top of that. Maybe our shadow went that way now. You never know. Never know what's going to happen out on Josh's mountains, right? You never can tell what's going to go down up there on old Josh's mountains. There we go. Very cool looking. Very cool. And remember, you can always sneak in your darker areas a little bit of that real black, deep dark color. Right? So you can go straight into your black, or if you have any more of your mountain mix, just so you get this cool bit of texture in there. And then when people are walking by, they're going to be able to see this little difference. And they're going to go, wow, that caught my eye right there, that little shadowy area as we were walking down the hallway. The light hit it just right, and it shined off and caught my eye. It was really cool. How did you do that, right? And then you're going to be like, ha-ha, it's my little secret, ha-ha, right? No one knows. Oh, we almost forgot. We almost forgot this guy down here, this poor little guy. Very lightly. Right, just letting that roll, almost like it's a paper towel roll, and we're letting it fall right off of the knife as it's rolling out, right, going down. Again, not worrying about what really is going on down here. Keep telling myself, Josh, you're just going to turn it into fog. Don't make it too thick is what I'm saying. The more thick you make it, the harder it's going to be to put our trees on. Now I'm going to go back to the same brush. I'm going to swipe up in the direction that we went on this side. Over here. I'm going to come back over here. We're going to swipe. Right? It should probably be a good practice to kind of scrape away the bottom of your mountain, because you know you're going to turn it into fog anyway, and if you have too much paint, then things really start getting difficult. So, as a practice for your next time, or if you haven't caught up yet and you're doing it on this one, just scrape off the bottom of your mountain, turn it into fog. Trust me, it's going to grow on you, and it's going to want to, ooh, look at that dead straight line of fog. We can't have that. We gotta go up and down and differences and everything. And maybe we even come up here. Just because we go off the side. Because it doesn't even matter. We're gonna take this, mix it all in our different areas, right? Coming up, coming down, all sorts of ways. Right, and maybe we got this thing that comes down like this now. Just in my brain, I can see it. It's coming down, chuck another thing in there, do another bit. Maybe not so long. Maybe start it up higher. Do a thing down here. We could do all sorts of craziness, guys. All sorts of craziness. Might as well cover down the edge of our sides with this blue or gray or whatever you have, just so long as your sides are covered. And then you can go and add your color of your bushes or trees or whatever we put on back here. Okay, so as you can see, it really doesn't much matter what happens down here. Not at all. You can always cover as you go down. Going back up, different story. More difficult to go back up and do things a different way. I could just see in this one, it needed a chemtrail, guys. It needed it so badly that it called out to me and was like, Josh, chemtrail me. And I said, all right. It's not even a chemtrail, it's a contrail. These conspiracy theorists, man, a little bit like that. Even that it's disconnected is cool. I like that. It makes it realistic. They're never all one perfect straight line. All right, let's come over here. We're going to grab up our black, crimson, and blue again. Maybe add our phthalo green. Just keep it nice and dark. Dark colors back here. We probably need more of it, actually. Probably need more because we never make enough. Like, you guys are always like, oh my God, I make too much and I'm always throwing away too much paint. I never make enough seams, and then I have to stretch it like I pretended to make that much, when in fact I probably didn't make enough to begin with. All right, we're gonna come in here with our size 8 fan brush. This is a master's touch. I got this one at Hobby Lobby. Very sturdy. I got it like 2 years ago at least. It's been rocking and rolling for a long time. All right, we're gonna come over here. We're gonna tap very small, little bits. Maybe in our less kind of full areas of heavy snow, we can come up higher than the tip of our mountain, right? And we go up there, we come down, we come up, we come down. We're bouncing like a heart monitor. Boop, 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 right? Just like that. A little bit more paint as I'm running out. There we go. Now I want it at this line where it's heavier down here. All right, that's gonna make our land slope this way. It's gonna be very cool. Very, very cool. All right, we're gonna start to bring this down, just bringing our color down sort of on a diagonal this way. All right, just so we can get a little bit of that color. And take our brush, go straight up on these, push them with a little bit of pressure just to flatten them down. Helps flatten it, give it this difference in color, different areas. There we go. All sorts of stuff. Make it a little bit darker over here. There we go. That's the kind of hillside we're looking for right there. All right. It looks steeper than it really is. But it does look steep for sure. All right, why don't we take, since we've got all this empty space where we created all this fog, and we did that for a reason, so we could put a couple trees over here. Let's go through, get a nice amount onto our brush. Come up here, we'll make a tall one right into there. And it's gonna be nice and simple because we don't have any thick snow back here, right? We made it all into mist, we mixed it, made it much easier to work with. Maybe he's got a little brother tree down here. And maybe he's got one more little guy who lives off there, but we got to do these guys first. Let's do this here. Up with the corner. You see, I'm trying to stay out of your way. And then we push it. Just bouncing it up like that. All right? Bounce. Look at all those cool little bits as the brush is reaching out and it's trying to touch in different places. Right? But we're just bouncing up. That's all we're really doing. Bouncing. I'm not touching straight with the brush. I'm kind of going like this and bouncing into it. And whatever touches and grabs and pushes up, that's what's going to make our shape. Fill that guy in back there. Okay, we're going to show you again over here. We'll do another one. And another one. Here we go. Touch, touch, bounce, bounce, bounce. We can start to fill it in, maybe take a break. Go down a little bit, leave an exposed area of some trunk back there. Right? Bam. And they don't have to grow ginormous. It doesn't have to be a pyramid from the top, right? It can be very skinny, or it can be very fat in some places and skinny in other places. Or, you know, very much symmetrical like this guy is. He's sort of what you would think a perfect tree would be like, right? But I don't like perfection. We got to have some difference, some sort of something in there that makes it different. All right, now let's take back here before we get too far ahead. And we're finally going to switch brushes. All right, you got me. We'll switch brushes. We'll go into the green, drag a little bit of the white into it, maybe a little bit of the yellow from down here, bring that up here, a little bit more white over here. So it's this very bright greenish color, right? You can even bring some of the phthalo green in there too. All right, we're going to start back here very lightly because we don't want to have too much. Just a little bit of color is all we're looking for, right? We're literally just dabbing it on, pushing it on, just like that. And this is fine. You're like, oh, that doesn't look like grass, Josh, right? I know, not yet. Trust the technique, because then we're gonna pull down from our little kind of foresty horizon back here. And all of a sudden we've got these beautiful little patches of green grass starting to grow, right? Come back over here. You can always add more. Brighten it up in certain areas, or go back in with dark and make it darker in certain areas. Totally up to you. Very lightly though when you pull down, because if you have a lot of paint up there, it's going to want to grow very fast on you, right? And we don't need it to grow so fast. That's not what we're about. We don't need it to grow so super fast. There we go. A little bit of lighter area back here on our big old sloping mess. Now, let's switch back to our bigger brush. We can pull out a little bit of land that live underneath these guys down here. All right, you don't always have to pull out in one direction either. See how we kind of laid out the top and then we came and pulled it back, so we have another little thing that we can play with. Now we're going to add our last little tree up here to kind of seal in that gap. Just a little guy. Right there. All right, pop our little branches up. Don't want to let them really touch back here, right? We just want to give the indication that there's a little bit of space back between these guys. It's going to look really cool. Oh, man. That's a good looking little tree on a little slope right there. All right, bam, bam, bam. Pull them down. And now we've got a whole new line of our horizon. And you can take and twist this and do all sorts of things. You can do whatever you want. You literally can. You can do anything you want to do. Take our green, let it mix in with this dark over here. And now all of a sudden we've got this little bit of difference in our hill back here. And I don't know about you guys, but I think it looks fantastic. Fantastic. All right, let's see. A little bit of our liquid white. We're going to come back up here into our greens. All right, don't want to have too much liquid white though. And you don't want it to be all the way up your brush either. At least I don't. Makes it more difficult for me. And I always forget. I always load the fan brush and then I go, oh yeah, we need some trunk to our tree. All right, a little bit of brown, a little bit of white. Doesn't have to be super bright, but in the areas where we left the kind of exposed area, we'll throw a little bit of trunk in there. A little bit fatter in the bigger tree, as you should, right? As it would be in nature. It'd be a little bit thicker. A little spiky up top. Then we'll come in, touch, and then again, this one we're bouncing up, but we're doing it so much more lightly than we were with the other one. Right? Maybe we're only going to do the half of this guy. And then down around the bottom, he doesn't have to be so bright. It really doesn't. There's never been anything that said it's got to be bright down there. All the light, wherever it's coming from, just didn't reach. Right? And it doesn't have to be. Your shadowing doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. In my eyes, anyway. Right? Maybe we came down a little bit more on that guy. Wipe off that green, back to a little bit more liquid white, just so it's nice and wet and slick and nasty. Slick and nasty. All right, little green there. And all we're doing is just touching the brush to allow the bright green to be grabbed by that darker color, right? Doesn't want to grab all of it. You don't have to. You never want to grab the whole thing. It's never going to be, all one color. If it is, you're not doing something right. You got to go back and make it to where it's not all one color. Because in nature, it would never just be all that one single color. Gotta have these nice, soft, deep areas, right? Deep, shadowy areas. They're scary. What's lurking behind here, looking through the trees at me is what I want. Are you guys scared? Because I'm scared. All right, take a little bit more of this. Maybe back underneath here. Just a couple little brighter areas of that grassy color. But leaving a little bit of that shadowy area too. Bam. Now we got our whole little thing. We'll see what happens. Okay, now remember, we want it to be very soft and very light back here, so we can allow this to blend in with all this liquid white. So we're really only going to see the smallest amount of it, almost like we're creating our own mist inside of the grass, right? Look at that. Whoa. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, I love it. All right, we're going to get a little bit more of our dark color on our brush, and maybe we'll come in this way. We got a couple taller trees that are living in front down here. What? What is going on, Josh? What are you doing? How can you go this way after you went that way? I know, right? It's insane. Insane. We need a lot more paint, though. Never make enough for when we do these. All right, I want to cover the whole thing. Maybe this guy comes down. Over there, over there, over there, over there, up here, over there, over there, over there, and up here, and over there. And just fill it all in, right? We don't want to see what's going on down around back underneath there. So we're going to fill in the bottom. That's very cool. I like that. That's very neat. We'll do something over here. Kind of make it make sense. All right. Turn that into fog or something over here. We're going to figure it out. Very cool though. Like these are just gigantic trees. All right. Gonna swipe up just like this. Look at how sharp it makes everything. Get all these thousands of little spikies in our grass. Look at that. All right, we're gonna bring it down. We're gonna bring that fog down to Chinatown, somebody said. I said, what should we call what we're doing here? Like, what should we call this action? And someone said, going to Chinatown. I was like, that is the best answer I have ever heard. So that's what we call it now. We're going to Chinatown. Going down to Chinatown. Man, that is great. See how we're just mixing it in with all this liquid white down here? And all that's doing is making it lighter for the next layer, right? So Bob never said. He never told you why you had to put the mist. He's like, oh, put the mist. It gives you distance, blah, blah, blah. Right, it's also to help the next layer stick on there a little bit better. So, don't forget that, right? All right, we're going to take a little bit of this. We're going to make our same sort of kind of grassy knoll on the way down, but with that dark color. Same sort of angle and everything. All right, plus the green that's on the brush, that can be allowed. That's allowed. All right, and then we'll really just blend it out nice and soft, and we'll have our own little doubled area over here. The reason I like using the dark is because we have to have a shadow underneath. Just like when we do our trees and all sorts of stuff, you got to have that shadow underneath there. And then put our color on the top. Otherwise, we have no depth, right? Josh does not paint paintings with no depth. So, if you are afraid of depth, then get ready. No. It'll be fine. It will be fine. Putting a little bit in there just so we bring it down to where the ground is. I don't want to have so much kind of room up there for how it looks to me. Yours can be totally different. And that's the best part about painting, is that it can be different. Look at that, as we drag these guys down, they get their shadows that come down with them. Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Let's try this. You're like, yeah, Josh has lost his mind. That's it. It's over, everyone. Josh is losing it. He has lost it. It is lost. And forevermore shall never be again. It has done lost. Man, that's cool. I like that, guys. All right. I'm going to swipe up here just to make these guys just a seamless transition. Right there, right there, right there. Come down. We still have so much room, guys, on this 18 by 24. Okay, let's take a little bit of our green, our liquid white again. And maybe down in here, we're going to come in, but we're going to leave some shadowy areas for like the tip tops of the trees. See if we can't keep any of that in there. All right, all of our angles, though, are most important. You got to have your angles right. So you got to keep them flowing like we did with with our dark, right? Same angle. Can't go straight down. It's going to look like we're falling off the edge of the world. That's not going to work. All these little dabs, and then we can kind of turn them into different things. Work in the color how we want. You can even go backwards up the hill. No one says you have to go down straight. No one said anything about going down straight down the hill, right? You can go up. You can go from the bottom to the top. However it works easiest for you is the way that you should do it. And I've always said that. Like, there's no reason why you should be changing what you're doing in order to match someone else, right? However you can get it to work, I'm here to give you the idea, and I'll be here to answer your questions. If you have any questions on, how do I get this look, or how would I achieve that, I can help you out. But it's going to be up to you to put the brush to the canvas and actually figure out what it's going to feel like when I do this, and what it's going to feel like to do that. And what happens if I touch it over here with this brush and it does this? Now how do I fix it, right? That's stuff that only you can figure out, because no one can really tell you that you're doing it wrong if you can achieve a similar look by doing it your way. And I've always said that. I've never taken any classes. I've never done anything. I try something. I go, okay, that looks cool if we do it like that. And if we don't overdo it, we leave all these extra colors. Okay. And that stuff you start to learn the more and more you paint, and the more longer time you've been at it. But don't let anybody be like, oh, well, that's you're doing it wrong. There is no wrong. If you can get the similar look, by doing it with a fan brush, then use a fan brush. If you can get a similar look by doing it with the 1/2 inch round, then use that by all means. You do not have to use the same brushes I'm using or tap it in the same way that I'm doing. I'm just showing you how easy it is to do it that way. So if you so choose to do it that way, right? Add a little bit of yellow in here. But I'm never gonna be there and tell you, hey, you didn't do that grass right? No, the grass looks great. You got differences in color in there? Looks fantastic. All right, cool, perfect. Then that's all we need. All right, little bits of bush, little bits of something, little bits of anything growing down the side. You can do all sorts of them. Just don't go too crazy, Josh. That's the thing. The more and more you do, the crazier it becomes. And then you're like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that last bit. I should have stopped and blah, blah, blah. We've all done it. I do it. I still do it. To this day, I still do it. Still do it to this day. I love these giant trees way off over here. We're going to have to put like a big old sucker over here somewhere. Some sort of something. Oh, Joshy Poo. Why don't we could do like that dude's house would be so hard to live on though. All right, let's put in a little bit of dark. Just kind of start to straighten out these hills as we come over to us. All right, and then you can see where I'm stopping in the same point, but meeting it in different areas. And then the same thing, pulling down at that spot, pulling over, but we're meeting in the same spot. And that's how our perspective is getting better, just like that. Now it's more of a straight hill over here, see? All the things that we can do, right? All the things that we can do. A little bit of black, a little bit of brown. Let's make a path. Since we don't have our dark sienna, let's make like this little kind of dark path, and then we can highlight it with our lighter brown. Why don't we start from back here? Let's say we'll come out. We're just literally mushing it onto the canvas. That's all we're doing. All right, and we start getting bigger over here. And the closer and closer it comes to us, the bigger and bigger it gets, right? Maybe over here, we got this. We'll come back. Just kind of mushing it on, and that way when we go to pull it out with our brush just very lightly, it's going to create this beautiful bit of darkness and light and color and change and all sorts of stuff. All sorts of fantastic things are going to happen because we're putting it on in this random bit with a knife. Just like that, guys. Look at that angle. It's like not too steep, not too crazy. Let's see if we can't get a little bit of grassy kind of color underneath here to start. And then just very lightly, let me pull our guy this way. And just really start to fill in that color down around the bottom. Bam, 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 bam. Just like that. All right, take them, pull them over to this side. All we're really worried about is getting the path to look correct in our brains, right? That's all we really care about. Does it look okay to my head? If it looks okay to your head, then you're in good shape, right? Maybe this guy comes up a hill a little bit. All depends on how we pull the brush, right? Look at that, just because we pull it this way, it's starting to look like maybe there's a little bit of roundness to the path. Maybe if we pull it this other way, the opposite, we'll get this little lift or something. Some sort of something will happen. It'll be different. Maybe we can throw in a long little path or a fence. Yeah, guys, let's throw in a big fence. So, firstly, why don't we get our 1/2 inch round, get a little bit of blue, crimson, and black on it. Really get it all nasty and gross. Maybe a little bit of the green. The 2 greens. All right, we're gonna come up, we're gonna cover over some of our bush, some of our path, sorry, excuse me. You gotta push some of that path back though. All right, and it's gotta be dark down around the base of this guy. So save your darkest colors to put down around the bottom of him. See that little area back there? Cover over our path a little bit. Now you can't really see where the path starts or stops. Well, it obviously stops over here somewhere. But you guys know what I mean. You know what I mean. right? Just like that, just with very easily mushing a mess onto the canvas, we get this beautiful little bush. Okay, why don't we take a little bit of our liquid white, maybe go into the yellow. All right, come down in one direction, let's turn it over, pop it up. Oh, guys, look at how the little brush just grabs onto all those little things. Oh, look at these beautiful little flowers. And we literally did it just by you saw me do it. I could have literally slapped it against the canvas. It would have taken what it wanted and spat out the rest, right? That is fantastic. Take this guy over here, a couple little scrapes. And because we're scraping away the paint and revealing the white under, the canvas underneath there, it looks really cool. You get these nice little branches back in our dark area. It's very, very neat. Very neat little thing. Okay, why don't we take our bit of fence. Should have done it before. All right, we put it back there. And we'll go this way. The next one. And then over there. Just kind of planning out our fence in my own mind here. Right? Maybe it's going to be a little bit taller over on that side. Either way, come back in. The top section is going to be here. Right? Actually, I don't want it up that high. So look at that. Poof, gone. Just like that. Because we don't use a whole lot of paint. Let's put this guy a little bit lower. We're going to come up. Right over here. Then we're going to start getting higher and higher and higher. Now that's going to give us this effect that we're going to kind of go far and away down there. Really kind of cool. We're going to have to go back over that area soon. All right, grab up our dark color because we got to have a dark color to lay our lighter color over the top of. You have to have it. So very small little beams back here. Right, little things. Little guys come down, they make touch on the floor back there. Just with the knife, all you gotta do is push them down. All right, come up, scrape a little bit, come over a little, come a little bit higher. A little bit further down. A little bit higher. A little bit further down. See what I mean? You start to build your fence all the way to us. A little bit higher still, a little bit bigger beams, because the wood's got to be bigger, right? As it's getting closer to us, it's getting larger. In my mind, anyway. And maybe one final one off the edge over here. Bam, bam, bam. Now we have a fence. Okay, very light amount we're going to use for the bottom of the shadow. All right, so we're going to go down underneath where we think we should be putting our highlights. Right, underneath our line. This guy's got to get much bigger over here. And smaller as we go away. Okay, so that's just the base, the shadow for our beam. Even do one down here. Just like that. Over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. Remember, thicker on this side. Same thing, gonna come in. Just kind of mush it on there. And that's gonna allow a little bit of area where it's gonna grip on to the next bit of color that we put on there. So you have to have something there to begin with. Something there with some hands that are going, hey, feed me. I want something, stick it out here. Right, gotta follow that line. Having, kind of drawing yourself a little traceable line is very effective. Very effective. And as far as keeping your perspective line right. Right, and then out there, just very small little bit of fence post way out here. We don't need a whole lot. No thick areas out there. Out here, gotta fill that part in. And then we'll go back over it with our our highlight color and it'll really stand out. Filling it in, bam, 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 just like that. Man, that's a cool one, guys. What I want to do first, though, is take the last little bit of this, and then we really need to get some more paint. We really do. Maybe we'll get a lot of brown up in here, too. That'll help us highlighting it. All right, so last thing I want to do is take this big old sucker, and we're just going to come down like this. All right, really pushing hard on the canvas, kind of turning our brush so it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And boom, I want him right back there, right on the side of the fence. That's going to be fantastic. All right, he's got to get thicker as he comes down. And he's going to feed away down around the fence. Maybe he's got his roots that even grow onto the path. You never even know. So that is a beautiful tree right there. And it's already a very beautiful shade of brown too, so we really don't even need to highlight a whole lot of it. Very cool little thing. All right, we're going to get that paint off of the brush. Need a double wash on that guy, courtesy flush. Courtesy clean over here on aisle 2. Now let's come back. We're going to grab our white and our brown. And why not? We'll put it down here. That is not near brown enough. It's just all white, Josh. There we go. Get in that brown. Really don't want the white to show through. So mix it up well enough that the white's not going to show. And let's come over here and we'll just put our bit of brown right over the top of our shadow. And that is going to allow them to blend down together, right? Just over the top of the shadows, just so you can see a little bit of that undershadow too, right? Which also needs to go in there to seal in our fence. All right, we get our brown over here, just little bits, right? Doesn't need to be crazy. Fence is going away from us. All I'm doing is touching. If something comes off, I continue to move forward. If it doesn't come off, then we have to come back to the palette and get more. Right off there. Just literally touching and dragging. That's it. Touch and drag. Right over here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And that's a big old thick area, Josh. But the best part about having a fence out in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't have to be this perfect fence. It doesn't have to be an award-winning fence. There's nobody out there keeping an eye on this fence. Nobody's maintaining the poor fence. Just getting older and older and older and older it gets. Poor old guy. So it doesn't have to be the world's most perfect thing, is what I'm saying. Especially if you're doing it with a knife. It doesn't have to be the world's most perfect piece of wood. But that's what I like about the knife. It makes it a little messy. Makes it a little bit more splintery, like there's some real bits of wood out there that you don't want to get caught up with. Right? At least I don't. There we go. Just by pulling down slightly, you can create that little bit of mixture. You get that little bit of wood grain in there. As long as you can keep them relatively straight, then we're going to have a good looking fence. Just like that. Now, of course, we got to come along and do our sides, but we're not going to cover up the whole shadow, right? You can see we're kind of staying to the side of the shadow, wrapping around the shadow, giving it a hug, right? We're going to come over here, we're going to start to the side and not try to cover that whole shadowy bit because we don't need to. We got to save him. He's got to stay out and play with us. Can't cover over his whole thing. He'd be mad at us if we did that. There we go. See? Nice little easy thing. And all the wood doesn't even have to be the same color. Again, this is an old beat up nasty fence that got left out in the middle of nowhere. Poor old fence. Take him off of our path. Just kind of slide out the color just like that. Here we go. All you gotta do is connect them in. Connect the dots. That's really it. You can pull both ways. It just literally makes it softer. That's all it's really doing. Making it softer, connecting it down with the earth. Right? You literally pull it both ways. Bam. Just like that. We can tuck our little tree back. Just like that. Seal it off around the bottom. Nice and soft. That is really cool, guys. Really cool, really cool, really cool. All right, let's grab our bigger branch making brush, going back into that dark colored paint that's in there, just so we can have a couple little things that come up and go off, just kind of grow crazy off of this guy. All right, and then we can go back in and do all sorts of stuff to him, make them smaller, larger. These are just the beginning of the branches, right? You don't want to make them too big with this old brush, let me tell you. That guy will really want to make them grow too tall. So kind of place them where you want them to be. Maybe we got one that sticks out right here. That's my favorite guy. Sticks out of the tree just like that. And we got a little bit bigger of a one over there. Branch that never grew over here. Maybe a small little branch over there. And now we got to get rid of this big old brush and switch to a much smaller brush so we can achieve those sharp bits of our branch. All right, much smaller little brush now. I use these Meeden micro liner brushes, and Meeden is a fantastic company. They make the easel that I use. It's just really great. So these little brushes give you so many little tiny branch details and super little teeny tiny things that might have been harder for you to achieve with a bigger brush, right? So these things are great for the beginner, for the pro alike. I recommend you getting a set. Let's see. Little branches. As you go across all that snow, it really wants to kind of stop your branch from moving in reality. That's what it wants. It doesn't want you to make those branches over all that thick snow. It tries to stop you. That's why you need all your paint thinner so you can allow it to drag and deposit where you want it when you're making your branches. Otherwise, going over all that thick white snow back there is hard for your little brush to do. It's like, what do you mean I gotta go do that? I don't want to go fight those bullies. And you're like, hey, you gotta get out there. And he's like, no, Dad, I don't want to go. Like, those guys are mean. Yeah, because they're very thick, right? You can't have all that thickness. You gotta have a thin bit of paint. So, look at this guy. You're like, oh my, where is that branch going? It's going right there. Love these little skinny brushes because they make the coolest skinny little branches that you ever did see. Maybe this guy goes off and then down. Then he'll get crossed over by that guy. All sorts of things we can do. Look at this. This one really wanted to grow. Cutting it back, it pushes all those other little bits of forest back. Everything, right? Maybe a little piece off to the side. All sorts of things you can do with a little tiny, sharp little brush. All right, then we got this piece, connects over there. That one goes off the side over here. We got a whole nother bit that goes off of there. Maybe one over here. All crazily. I like that though. I think this guy needs to be, he's really trying to grow out and grow up with his old buddies. They don't want him to get any sunlight when all the trees and everything, and the leaves are on this tree. They don't want him to catch any sunlight. So they try to grow, and he's really got to stretch his little arms out to get all the way out here. Poor little guy. See what it's like having a big brother? You don't want to have a big brother. You don't want to have a big brother. I'm actually the big brother in my family. So I know from experience, you don't want to have a person like me being a big brother. Now, sometimes I think I wasn't the best big brother, but then other times I think I wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? I could have done more, of course. Everybody could have done more. You always think back and you go, oh, I could have spent more time with him. I could have done this. We could have been better friends. But with me and my brother, we were separated by a long distance from parents that weren't together anymore. And, you know, didn't really see him a lot. I still don't see him a lot. I wish I saw him more. He just got married. I couldn't even go to his wedding. Not because he didn't invite me. He did invite me. But I couldn't go. We had work and the show and all these things, all these reasons. And then you think back on your reasons and you're like, are those really reasons that you couldn't have gone? Like, could you have gone? Could you have postponed this? Could you have done that? Could you have got it off of work? But, you know, sometimes you just don't have a lot of time to think about it. So I thought I was and still, he calls me, I give him advice. I'm still a good big brother. In my mind. Maybe if you ask him, I might be crap. But I guess we'll, you know, we may never know the answer to that. We may never know the answer. All right, here we go. Just taking and pulling down all those little bits of tree bark color that we made together, right? And pulling it down, giving it little things, a little bit of texture here, a little bit of color over there, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it really ends up looking fantastic. Man, that one's really nice. Well, I want to thank you guys for painting along with me with this one. Let's take some birds and we'll throw them off somewhere. Maybe they need to be a little bit brighter. There we go. So yeah, I want to thank you for painting along and joining me on a Wednesday morning or afternoon or evening or whenever time it is for you. Let's see. Where are we going to put the old family up here? Drop them off at the pool right over here. Just like that. Knock that scene out in a jiff. Okay, well guys, I've got a mountain of brushes to go clean up. I'm sure you've heard me say that about 1 billion times by now. And let's go in here. Bam, bam, bam. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in, for sticking with me on a Wednesday morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever time it is you're watching this. If there was no you, there would be no me. So I'm so happy that you're here and I'm not just doing something else boring with my life and I get to actually come up here and hang out and show you how to do something cool. So until the next time I see you, or 5 seconds from now, you guys take care, have the rest of a good night, and we'll see you on the next one. Pow!